It has been over a year since the 2015 Game of the Year was released, and I am finally finished. I can now give you my review, my final thoughts on Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. Warning, this is not going to be a quick and concise review, mostly because I don't think I'm actually capable of doing that. This is going to be a ramble and is mostly aimed at people who have watched my Let's Play of Witcher 3 and are wondering what my thoughts are regarding this game. Before we go any further, I think it's best I give a disclaimer if you are new to my channel. I am not a professional reviewer, and in this case, I'm not even unbiased. I will find it quite difficult to be impartial in this particular case. This is because a few weeks before the official release of Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red flew a lot of YouTubers over to Poland to try the game out, and I was one of them. We had a great time. We enjoyed playing the game, but we also enjoyed spending time there. They had some events, we had dinner, they treated us very well, and of course that does colour your view of things. And then a year later, they flew us to Italy for a similar event for the Blood and Wine expansion, and that was in a castle. I mean, they flew us to a castle to play games, have food, have fun, and party. It's really hard to be unbiased when you're being bombarded with that kind of awesome fun. They also gave me a free copy of the game, the DLC, and a lot of other little things like a Witcher medallion. So this is not a paid promotion. They have not paid me to review the game in any way, but you should know that I am very biased. Having said that, let's soldier on and talk about what I think of this game. Now, if you've not seen the preview videos I did for this game, I'll leave a link down below. You may want to go off and watch those because, quite frankly, everything I said in those videos pretty much applies. The open world was amazing. It didn't change. It wasn't like I played further in and realized it wasn't an open world. The feeling of traveling around the various different provinces was brilliant. It's amazing to be able to leave an inn in Novigrad, travel south through Velen, all around, go through several caverns, then go back up, go through Oxenfurt, go through every house you can go through, the sewers, and back up to Novigrad, spending 6 and 7 hours traveling and never once having a loading screen. It is amazing. I have never really played a game that open before, and I have to take my hat off to them. That was pretty damned incredible. Of course, the game looked great. It felt great to play. The movement mechanics, for example, were really smooth, really polished and instinctive. Occasionally I might find it a little difficult. I might get trapped on something silly or roll down a set of stairs I didn't really want to roll down. But in general, moving around this world, even though it was a massively open world, was a pleasure to do. Combat was the same. Generally speaking, combat is very tough if you play on the tougher difficulties, but it is fun, and you feel like you're in control of it. In some of the previous games, you felt a little out of control occasionally. With this one, there were very few moments where I did something and thought, I didn't want to do that. There were a few, but quite often that would have been my mistake, not the game. The combat mechanics were great. The character system was interesting. I did feel like there was a difference when you played one build to another, and I could see there was quite a lot of encouragement to replay or change your build several times just to mix it up, just to try something new, and I really did like that. I also loved the potions. It was something I alluded to in the preview. I felt like the potions had been made more streamlined, yet made more sense. You could use them far more tactically in the middle of fights and so on, and I really do think that is true. Of all of the games so far, potions were far more involved whilst I was actually fighting. In the first one, you would just take potions at the beginning of the day. They would last all day, and you only took a few potions and you really didn't get that involved with them. In the second one, the alchemy build was absolutely brilliant, but you couldn't take potions mid-combat, and so you had to prepare for fights, which was great, except that the way the game worked is it would very often have a cutscene that would end in a fight, and all your potions had run out and you couldn't use them, and if you were an alchemy build, you were in a lot of trouble. Nothing like that happened in Witcher 3. I really enjoyed using the potions, and I even experimented a little bit with an alchemy build, not very far into that tree, but I can imagine it was a very powerful build indeed. And in the preview I also mentioned Gwent and how I'd probably found a mini game that I actually liked, and everyone was stunned by this because I'm sort of well known for hating mini games. But that has not changed. In fact, that has increased. I really did enjoy Gwent. I wasn't very good at it, but a lot of that came down to the fact that I was playing only a few times a week, and so I never really got the hang of it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to agree with that assessment. However, of course, they've announced they're going to make Gwent a standalone game that you can play against other players, which is brilliant, because I actually think they hit a winner on this one. Gwent was actually a lot of fun all by itself. So I guess what I'm saying is basically everything I said in the preview still stands. Everything I said there is still true to this day. It had all of the promises of being a superb game. Of course, I ended that series by saying the game was going to stand and fall on the quest, on the story, and of course that was something I was going to have to play through to evaluate. And that is actually what this video is really about, and that is what I'm going to do now. I described the first game as a great story told by someone who was not a good storyteller. I described the second game as a great story told by a great storyteller, and the third game is yet again a great story, but this time told by a master storyteller, a storyteller who knows their art inside out and whose delivery is perfect. They just keep you completely spellbound with the story, and that's what happened in Witcher 3. The story just captivated me from beginning to end. They had the music just right, the dialogue was great, the cutscenes all worked together to tell this tale, to drag you along with it, and really make it personal, make it emotional, and make it mean something to you. This was like watching a movie, but a movie you were directing. But I think what truly amazed me about this game and its quests was not the main quest, which, as I've said, was brilliant, but the side quests. The side quests were, well, some of them were small and tiny and barely had any impact on your main quest, and some of them were amazing, huge, almost epic sagas in their own right that had a massive effect on your main quest, but it didn't matter. Every single story, every single solitary quest you did, no matter how minor, felt like it was important to somebody in this world, and even if it wasn't you, that somehow made the quests they meant so much more. You could literally find a note on a dead body telling you where some treasure was, and you just go and pick the treasure up. It was a 10-second quest, and yet you would read the note and you would get a feeling, an idea of the story that was behind this treasure you were just looting. You got a glimpse into the millions of stories that were unfolding around you that didn't even involve you. I mean, occasionally some of these stories would involve you. You might even have a pivotal part to play in that particular story, but the story would often carry on without you. Occasionally it would come back and perhaps either punish you or help you depending on what you did, but sometimes the story would just continue on without you, and that felt great. It felt real, and this made the land feel real, the people feel real, and you got a sense that the things you did mattered not just to you, not just to your friends, but to the people you interacted with. And I don't just mean the battle with the wild hunt, I'm talking the little things you did really felt like they made a difference. I played this game for, well, I'm not totally sure actually, but well over 150 hours, and never once did I feel like I was just doing impersonal, randomly generated fetch quests. Everything I did felt like it had a purpose, a reason. Everything I did felt real because of this. To have such epic storytelling in a linear game is a major achievement, but to have this sort of storytelling in an open world game is nothing short of astonishing. This game really did deliver on all fronts. Mechanically, graphically, the music, the story, the dialogue, everything about this game delivered. It really has no major weaknesses. There's one or two little niggles you could complain about. For example, the dialogue. Occasionally, I would pick a line and it would say something I was not expecting. Little things like that. The rolling downstairs when you didn't really want to roll downstairs. Tiny little details that in the grand scheme of things are not important. In just about every other way, this game delivered one of the most complete, fulfilling and polished experiences I've ever had while playing a game. Now, for most games, this is where this video would end, me saying greatest game ever, and that would be it. But that's just not the complete story with The Witcher 3, because The Witcher 3 is more than just a great game. It's a new benchmark by which we judge AAA gaming. When Witcher 3 was released, the entire gaming world was just used to terrible DLC deals, awful pre-order incentives that would almost threaten you. If you don't pre-order the game, you won't get all of the content that was cut and sold back to people on day one. And CD Projekt Red did none of that. They sold the game for a single price with no cut content, and in fact were releasing free DLC every week for several weeks after release. They showed gamers that you could have value for money. They showed the gaming industry that they could produce a game with quantity and quality at the same time. In many ways, the rise of CD Projekt Red is as much a fairy tale story as the Witcher series themselves. I started my journey through the Witcher games exactly 2 years ago, and it has taken me quite some time. People have asked me what my game of the year was for 2015, and I'm now ready to answer that in 2016. My game of the year for 2015, and probably the greatest game I have ever played. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt.